Investigation. The FBI special counsel, Robert Mueller, is now looking into President Trump's business dealings. That's new, and it was first reported by Bloomberg News, citing a source familiar with the investigation. Just yesterday, President Trump told the New York Times in an interview for The Ages that Bob Mueller would cross a red line if he looked into his or his family's finances. Well, now he's looking into his and his family's finances. Red line cross. Now what? The White House said in an off-camera briefing just moments ago that the president has no intention of firing Bob Mueller. In President Trump's interview with the New York Times, he slammed top officials at his own Justice Department and at the FBI, including one of his biggest campaign supporters, the first senator to come out and support him, the man he called the smartest man in all the United States Senate, the man he appointed his attorney general. Jeff Sessions apparently is now a traitor. The president told the Times he would not have given Jeff Sessions the job had he known that the attorney general would recuse himself from the investigation into Russia's meddling in the 2016 election.
So Jeff Sessions takes the job, gets into the job, recuses himself. I then have, which frankly, I think is very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself?
Well, you take the job, then you get the information, which makes it clear that ethically you have to recuse yourself, and you recuse yourself. The Attorney General responded at a news conference today.
I have the honor of serving as Attorney General. It's something that goes beyond any thought I would have ever had for myself. We love this job, we love this department, and I plan to continue to do so as long as that is appropriate.
As long as it's appropriate. There are those who would argue that as long as it's appropriate ended the millisecond that President Trump gave that interview to the New York Times and said that he never would have put him in there. But we'll see what happens. The Attorney General was the first Republican senator to endorse President Trump, or then candidate Trump, during the 2016 election. But back in March, Jeff Sessions announced he would step aside from the investigation after it came out that he met with the Russian ambassador during the campaign. He said he met with him as a senator, not as a campaign surrogate, though he did. The president also talked to the Times about his private conversation with the Russian President Vladimir Putin during the G20 summit in Germany. The president said they exchanged pleasantries for about 15 minutes, that's his number, contradicting reports that the conversation had lasted about an hour. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts is live at his familiar position on the North Lawn. What an interview, John. Never in my born days have I heard anything quite like that. How about you?
You know, I was talking to Maggie Haberman earlier today. She was one of the people who was in that meeting yesterday, and she said all we did was we started a conversation. And I said, well, clearly you got a lot of very important information. She said, we were just talking. But after the president says something like he said in that New York Times interview, the first question you want to ask is, does the president still have confidence in his attorney general? A short time ago, just a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact, at the Made in America event that the president was hosting here at the White House, reporters shouted the question at him, do you still have confidence in your attorney general? The president ignored the question, but a short time earlier, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders, at yet another off-camera White House briefing, even though the OMB director Mick Mulvaney brought some visual aids, we're not sure what led to that disconnect, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked if the president still had confidence in his attorney general. Here's what she said.
The president said, as the president said yesterday, he was disappointed in the Attorney General Sessions' decision to recuse himself, but clearly he has confidence in him or he would not be the Attorney General.
So I'm baffled, frankly, by everything that's happened here in the past 24 hours at the White House. We have the president saying what you played earlier. Then we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that the president has confidence in his attorney general. So we don't know, Shep, if he has lost confidence in his attorney general, wants him to resign, or if he's just expressing lingering frustrations, because we know it's no secret that the president was upset when Sessions recused himself. Maybe he wants to subject Sessions to a public flogging. But here's a little bit more of what the president told the New York Times yesterday.
If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word, to the president.
So the president said in that interview that had he known then what he knows now, he never would have appointed Jeff Sessions to be his attorney general. Yet when Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked at that press briefing a short time ago if the president regrets appointing Jeff Sessions to be the attorney general, she said no. To which I interjected, well, wait a minute, how do you reconcile those two different thoughts? Because your president, your boss, said, had he known now, or known then what he knows now, he never would have hired him, and you say that he doesn't regret it. She says, well, I think maybe I misheard the question. In the middle of all of this, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who, as you pointed out, was one of the strongest supporters, one of the most loyal supporters of this president all the way through the campaign, the first person in the Senate to support him, showing him absolute loyalty, is now trying to figure out what to do and whether, in fact, the president does have confidence in his ability to carry on. Here's what Sessions said about confidence earlier today.
We're serving right now. The work we're doing today is the kind of work that we intend to continue. So I'm totally confident that we can continue to run this office in an effective way.
Confident that he can continue to run this office in a competent way while not really knowing what the president expects him to do. The president has not spoken to him, Shep, since he had that interview with the New York Times. But we should also point out the president is expressing some sort of lack of confidence in Rod Rosenstein, saying that he is from Baltimore, and he didn't know that when he was appointed, that there are very few Republicans in Baltimore, and that there are all kinds of conflicts of interest regarding the special counsel investigation, because Rod Rosenstein recommended that the president James Comey, and then turned around and appointed a special prosecutor to look into that firing, and now saying Robert Mueller has got conflicts of interest because of his long-term friendship with James Comey. So, Shep, we're not exactly what direction this is going in or what the president hopes to achieve by saying the things that he has said, but he has really thrown into doubt the confidence that this White House must have in the Department of Justice. But at the same time, the Attorney General saying we are going to do everything we can to uphold the laws of the United States and enforce them appropriately. Shep?